The adorable faces of the Our Gang, or Little Rascals, cast brought joy and laughter to countless generations. But behind the childhood fame, many of these actors faced devastating twists of fate, with accidents and unexpected tragedies altering their lives in unimaginable ways. Once cherished stars, they encountered struggles that reshaped their paths entirely. Where are they now in 2025? Have they found peace, success, or continued hardships? Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking and inspiring journeys of the Little Rascals cast, full of resilience, loss, and unexpected turns. Matthew Beard, who portrayed the wisecracking stymie in Our Gang, was just 5 years old when he first donned the oversized derby hat in 1930. His character, street smart and full of charm, became an emblem of quick wit and resilience during the Depression era. Though his youthful performance made him a beloved icon, Beard's post-gang life spiraled into hardship. Acting roles became scarce, and by his early 20s, he fell into drug addiction and petty crime. He was arrested multiple times and spent years in and out of rehabilitation centers and jail. A brief marriage to Dolores Stewart yielded 2 children, a boy named Matthew Jr. and a daughter named Nina, but the union dissolved amid his struggles. Beard later worked to reform his life, becoming a minister and motivational speaker for recovering addicts, though he never fully escaped the shadow of his past. He died from a stroke on January 8, 1981, at the age of 56, alone in a modest Los Angeles apartment. His estate was valued at less than $25,000, with no significant assets, as much of his life had been consumed by poverty and transience. His name, however, remains etched into classic Hollywood nostalgia. Scotty Beckett, who played Spanky's loyal sidekick in Our Gang starting at the age of 4 in 1934, was the embodiment of youthful innocence with his tousled hair and playful grin. As a child, his natural charisma secured him roles alongside stars like Shirley Temple and Judy Garland. But success came too soon. After a brief teenage hiatus, he attempted a comeback but was derailed by substance abuse and mental illness. Beckett married 3 times. His second marriage to actor Sonny Vickers was marked by domestic turmoil and ended in divorce, leaving behind a son named Scott Jr., whom he rarely saw. He was arrested numerous times for drug possession, theft, and check fraud, and his last years were a haze of hospital stays and failed rehabilitation. On May 10, 1968, at only 38, he was found dead in a Los Angeles motel room, surrounded by pills. His cause of death was ruled a probable suicide. His estate was negligible, estimated at under $5,000, with no will and no surviving spouse. His brief, bright life ended as a tragic cautionary tale of early stardom. Tommy Bond, who portrayed the menacing Butch in Our Gang, was just 6 when he first appeared in 1932. By 1936, he had firmly cemented his role as the quintessential bully, constantly feuding with Alfalfa over Darla. Bond's scowl and comic timing made Butch an unforgettable foil. After leaving the series, Bond continued acting, notably voicing characters in animation and working behind the camera. He married Patricia May in 1948, and they had 1 son, Thomas Bond Jr., but the marriage was rocky due to long absences and professional stresses. Though they never divorced, they lived separately for many years. Bond suffered several strokes later in life, and he struggled with bitterness over being typecast and underappreciated. He penned a memoir detailing his frustration with Hollywood's exploitation of child actors. He died on September 24, 2005, at 79, from heart failure. Despite his career setbacks, Bond had invested modestly and left behind an estate estimated at $350,000, largely in the form of real estate and personal memorabilia. Joe Cobb, remembered as the original chubby-cheeked funny man of Our Gang, joined the cast at just 6 years old in 1922. With his round frame, oversized cap, and sunny smile, Joe was the comedic heart of the early silent episodes. He left the series in 1929 and made a few brief returns, but his days in the spotlight faded quickly. Cobb transitioned into an unglamorous life, working as an assembler at North American Aviation. Though his public life dimmed, his private life was equally quiet but often marked by sadness. He married Helen Gross in the 1940s, and they had a daughter, Linda, but the marriage lacked warmth and companionship, leading to long periods of emotional distance. Cobb quietly struggled with health issues, including diabetes and heart problems. He died on May 21, 2002, at the age of 85, after suffering complications from heart failure. His estate, primarily savings and modest investments, was estimated at $150,000. While he faded from public memory, collectors and fans continued to cherish his early contributions to comedy cinema. Jackie Condon, who portrayed the original Jackie in Our Gang, joined the cast at only 4 years old in 1922, embodying the curious tag-along toddler with wide eyes and eager enthusiasm. As the shorts progressed, Jackie evolved into the quintessential all-American boy, charming, innocent, and determined. He remained with the series until 1929, when silent shorts gave way to sound films. Post-Hollywood, Condon struggled with a sense of purposelessness. He eventually found stability working as a technician at Rockwell International, but the joy he once had on set never returned. He married once, to Margaret Lowell, a telephone operator, but their marriage deteriorated after the stillbirth of their only child, a son they had named Benjamin. The couple divorced in 1958. Isolated and battling alcohol dependence, Condon rarely spoke of his time in film. In his later years, he reportedly lived alone in a modest apartment in Inglewood, California, haunted by a fading legacy and the deaths of many former castmates. Jackie Condon died of liver disease on October 13, 1977, at age 59. His estate was valued at roughly $50,000, mostly consisting of pension savings and small personal belongings. Jackie Cooper, who portrayed the spirited Jackie in Our Gang from 1929, joined the series at age 7 and quickly became a sensation with his expressive eyes and soulful acting. His charm earned him an Oscar nomination at age 9 for Skippy, 1931, making him the youngest nominee at the time. Cooper transitioned to adult stardom with difficulty, eventually finding steady work as Perry White in the Superman films. Despite his career's second wind, Cooper's personal life was plagued by heartbreak. His first marriage to actress June Horn ended in infidelity and divorce, and though he found love again with Barbara Ray Krause, their marriage was marked by long separations due to his directorial work. He had 4 children, Russell, Julie, Christina, and John, but remained estranged from 2 of them due to disputes over finances and legacy. He was burdened by guilt over a childhood lost to studios and an adulthood spent chasing relevance. Jackie Cooper died of natural causes on May 3, 2011, at the age of 88. His estate, valued at an estimated $6 million, was largely divided among his surviving children, with notable donations made to youth acting charities. Jean Darling, who portrayed the sweet yet strong-willed Jean in Our Gang, joined the cast in 1927 at just 4 years old and appeared in 46 silent shorts. With golden curls and a mischievous glint, she brought a quiet intelligence to her roles that made her memorable among a large cast. As silent films faded, Jean transitioned to Broadway and starred in Carousel, 1945, where her soprano voice won praise. She later became a writer of Gothic mystery stories and hosted a storytelling radio show in Ireland. Jean married Reuben Bowen, a Broadway pianist, but their union was strained by financial instability and Jean's growing disenchantment with show business. They had one son, Roy, who later became a librarian and rarely spoke to the press about his mother. Jean faced numerous personal tragedies: a house fire in 1961, the death of her husband in 1980, severe arthritis that ended her piano playing, and a bitter estrangement from Hollywood circles. She spent her final decades in seclusion in Dublin, surrounded by books and old film reels. Jean Darling died on September 4, 2015, at the age of 93. Her estate was modest, estimated at $150,000, including royalties and unpublished manuscripts. Dorothy de Borba, known affectionately as Dorothy, in Our Gang, joined the series in 1930 at age 5 and became instantly recognizable with her cascading curls and sharp, comedic timing. Always quick with a quip, she was the spirited girl who held her own among the boys. After leaving the series in 1933, Dorothy tried her hand at local theater before stepping away from the spotlight entirely. She eventually took a clerical job at UC Berkeley and avoided most public attention. Dorothy married Albert Hirsch, a mechanic, in 1946, and they had 2 children, Linda and Joseph, but the marriage deteriorated amid financial hardship and her quiet resentment over a lost acting career. She and Albert divorced in 1967, and she remained single for the rest of her life. Dorothy endured multiple personal losses, including the early death of her daughter from cancer, a home burglary that wiped out her memorabilia collection, and a serious car accident in the 1980s that left her with chronic pain. Despite this, she occasionally appeared at fan conventions, often teary-eyed when recalling her time on set. She passed away on June 2, 2010, at age 85 from emphysema. Her estate was estimated at $80,000, primarily composed of savings and collectibles. Darla Hood, who portrayed the vivacious and adorable Darla in Our Gang, joined the series at just 4 years old in 1935. Her sweet voice and innocent charm often placed her at the center of the gang's childhood romances, especially opposite Alfalfa and Waldo. After leaving the series, Darla ventured into music and hosted variety shows, yet her post-Our Gang career never recaptured the same success. Her marriage to insurance salesman Jose Grandson in 1957 brought 2 children, David and Joni, but the relationship was strained by her lingering fame and health issues. They divorced in 1974, and she remained single afterward. Plagued by chronic fatigue and anxiety, Darla also struggled with alcohol dependency and experienced several nervous breakdowns. She endured a long estrangement from her parents, suffered financial losses through failed music ventures, and dealt with the trauma of being typecast as a child star. She died tragically young at 47 on June 13, 1979, due to heart failure following a routine appendectomy. Her estate was estimated at $150,000 at the time of her death, a modest sum reflecting a life that once promised stardom but faded into quiet tragedy. Alan Farina Hoskins, who appeared in Our Gang from the tender age of 1 until 10, portrayed Farina, a character who evolved from a comedic infant to a central and complex figure in the early silent shorts. Known for his expressive eyes and rubbery gestures, he became one of the most iconic members of the series. However, after leaving show business, he struggled with poverty and typecasting, eventually abandoning acting altogether. He found steady work as a psychological technician for disabled children, though he never returned to the limelight. His marriage to Lorraine Hoskins lasted 15 years before they divorced in 1964, citing emotional distance. They had 2 children, Mark and Janine, though Farina had little contact with them later in life. A lifetime of depression, racism in Hollywood, failed business ventures, and estrangement from his siblings marked his later years. He died of cancer on July 26, 1980, at 59. At the time of his passing, his estate was valued at approximately $40,000, meager compensation for a child once known in every American home. Marian Jackson, the feisty tomboy with a bowl haircut and a biting sense of humor, was just 5 years old when she joined Our Gang in 1928. Often playing the assertive sister figure, she brought an energetic presence and comedic timing unmatched by many of her peers. After leaving the spotlight at age 8, Marian struggled to reintegrate into a normal life. She worked menial jobs and later became a bookkeeper, deliberately avoiding any return to acting. Her marriage to car mechanic Leonard Chase in 1948 lasted 2 decades before ending bitterly in divorce. They had one daughter, Susan, who later became estranged from her. Marion battled alcoholism, depression, and the guilt of witnessing childhood co-stars fall into addiction or poverty. A recluse in her later years, she refused most interviews and lived alone with a dozen cats in a rent-controlled apartment. She passed away from heart failure on December 17, 2003, at the age of 80. Her estate, largely consisting of old memorabilia and modest savings, was valued at $120,000. Darwood Kay, who played the posh, well-mannered Waldo in Our Gang from age 8 in 1937, portrayed the gang's awkward intellectual, often competing for Darla's affection with clumsy confidence. Post Our Gang, Kay chose a radically different path. He left Hollywood behind and became a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, serving as a missionary in Thailand for over a decade. Despite his spiritual focus, his personal life bore heavy sorrows. His marriage to Jean Bendon ended after 19 years in 1974 due to the emotional toll of living abroad and grief over the accidental drowning of their firstborn son, Nathan. The couple had 3 other children, Rebecca, Stephen, and Joel, but family unity was often tested by long separations and religious obligations. Kay also suffered from survivor's guilt following a bombing near his missionary station and was later diagnosed with PTSD. In a cruel twist of fate, he was killed in a hit-and-run accident on May 15, 2002, at age 72. His estate, mostly tied up in church donations and modest personal savings, was estimated at $90,000. Sidney Kibrick, who portrayed Woym, the loyal, snickering sidekick to the infamous bully Butch, was just 5 years old when he joined Our Gang in 1933. With his mischievous smirks and wide-eyed mischief, he became a memorable figure in the series' early sound years. Despite the laughter he brought to millions, Kibrick's post-acting life bore a more somber tone. After leaving the screen, he pursued a modest career in real estate, quietly distancing himself from the child star limelight. He married once, to a woman named Adele in the early 1960s, but their union was plagued by long silences and emotional distance, ending in divorce in 1982. They had 2 children, Deborah and Neil. Those strained relations persisted into their adult lives. Kibrick suffered 5 major personal losses, including the deaths of his parents in a tragic car crash, a battle with alcoholism in the 1970s, financial instability during the 1980s recession, and near blindness in his later years. Despite being a relic of early Hollywood, he avoided fanfare and rarely gave interviews. Now 96, he lives in quiet seclusion in a retirement home in Southern California. Once estimated to be worth over $3 million in his real estate prime, his estate has since dwindled to approximately $500,000. Mildred Cornman, who appeared as a cherubic toddler in the silent era Our Gang shorts beginning in 1926 at the tender age of 1, was the epitome of innocence in the earliest days of Hal Roach's beloved series. Though often uncredited, her presence added warmth to the sepia-toned reels. As the talkies arrived and her time in Our Gang faded, she re-emerged as Ricky Van Dusen, a statuesque fashion model whose grace lit up the pages of Vogue and Harper's Bazaar throughout the 1940s and 1950s. Yet beneath the glamour, Cornman led a life shadowed by emotional solitude. She married twice, first to advertising executive Mark Van Dusen, with whom she had 1 daughter, Lillian. The marriage disintegrated after a miscarriage and years of cold detachment. Her second husband, architect Glenn Murphy, died suddenly of a stroke in 1969, plunging her into years of depression. She suffered the loss of her sister Mary, also a child star, and endured the silence of estranged friendships from Hollywood. Despite her poised image, Cornman struggled with anxiety and chronic insomnia. She passed away on August 19, 2022, at 97, in a care facility in Utah. Her estate was valued at roughly $2.5 million, much of which was left to animal welfare organizations. Eugene "Porky" Lee, who entered our gang in 1935 at the age of 2, became forever etched in the collective memory of America as the chubby-cheeked boy whose lisped "Ote" became a signature of the series, though often wrongly attributed to buckwheat. His role provided comic innocence, but Lee's departure from acting was swift and unsentimental. By age 8, he was released from the cast as he grew too tall. The rejection scarred him deeply. He tried to reinvent himself, eventually becoming a schoolteacher under the name Eugene Lee. He married high school sweetheart Jeanette in 1959, and the couple had 3 children, Brent, Valerie, and Dana. But their marriage was strained by Lee's battles with undiagnosed depression, alcoholism, and a brief gambling addiction. They divorced in 1981, after years of emotional absence. Lee struggled with identity, haunted by his child stardom, and rarely spoke of his early fame. He lost 2 siblings prematurely, endured a house fire that destroyed decades of memorabilia, and suffered a mild stroke in 2003. Eugene Lee died on October 16, 2005, at the age of 71, from lung and brain cancer. At the time of his death, his estate was modestly valued at $350,000. Who is your favorite character from our gang? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.